Ah, such sweet sounds on the nylon acoustic guitar. The nylon-strung classical Spanish guitar. Yes, very nice. I'm very tired today, but nonetheless, I'm keeping to my schedule that I've made up for myself. And so now we are going to have a look at some music. I should have been on that screen for that. Never mind. Now I shall... Oh, no, we don't want that one. We want that one. There we go. Nice. Okay. Anyway, yeah, I'm going to be looking at not my 1001 favourite songs. I'm going to go to a different playlist of mine, the Vintage What I'm Listening To playlist, for a lucky dip. Basically, these are not vintage picks really. Some of them might be, but this playlist is really just saying, hey, here's some albums you vaguely know from previous times in your life. Please have a listen to them and see if you still want to keep listening to them. If you don't, I will remove them for you. We've got about 30 albums on there right now, maybe a few more than 30. I just thought we would take a lucky dip and have a look at whatever this suggests, which is it's a Philip Selway album from a few years ago, maybe 2 years ago, maybe just 1 year ago. Strange Dance. Yeah, so here it is. I quite enjoyed this upon first listening and second listening, and third listening I sort of was getting a little bit dulled out. It's definitely not as interesting as maybe you might expect from a Radiohead release, but I think it's pretty good. I think it's pretty good, and we should have a listen to it. So there, let's give it a go. Let's see what's going on. F major. Nice F major with a wow just coming through on some kind of synth to begin with. Slow fade into that, and then we've got these really lush piano chords. Oh, what's it doing? It's going from F F major, just holding for 4 beats, and then down to E flat 9. The sultry chord built on the flat 7 of the major key, or well, let's say the 7 of the Mixolydian mode. But even if we think about it as Mixolydian, we've got some extra chromaticism in there, because if it were Mixolydian, it would be a major 7 chord, but it's not. It's a 7 or even a 9 chord. E flat 9. So we're already dealing with some non-diatonic musical territory, and we've got just a little bit of melody there, just bringing out those 2 notes, ba da 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 da, on those beats. Still, yeah, very clear, slow tempo, still very clear. And then the other thing is, crazy extra stuff going on in the periphery here. Some really nice musical things, sort of wishy-washy sounds. Let's have another listen. So some ride cymbal. Ride cymbal in the right ear, just occasionally, not too crazy, but also not very spread out. A slight rhythmic feature. Then we've got these washes in the left ear. Whoosh, kind of sounds, and then a coming into greater prominence through as well. So yeah, rhythmic features. Phil Selway is the drummer of Radiohead, so you would expect some interesting rhythm stuff. The other stuff though, that's nice extra. Nice tom roll there, low tom roll. Yeah, and it's so boomy. They're so nicely recorded, so it's clean and crisp and just fills that particular audio spectrum, part of the audio spectrum. So the low stuff is just full up there. There's not many other instruments really, so it's easy to do so.
Don't believe what they say. Don't believe what they say.
Okay, so a little bit of melody there. 2, 1, 7, 1. Nice. Pretty straightforward. Repeated twice. The 7 is interesting, isn't it? Because we've had that flat 7 before. Na, 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 na. So that's adding another piece of the chromatic puzzle that's going on here. Yeah, relatively low melody, isn't it? And obviously we wouldn't necessarily expect Phil Selway to be the greatest singer ever. He's occupying a pretty straightforward, low male kind of area of the voice, but it's nice, it sounds good.
They will take you apart.
Okay, so here we had the same melody fragment but over a different chord, which is a D minor. Take you apart. One of my favourite things is having a relatively simple melody and then changing the harmonic context of it. Because in each of these different places it does have a different feel.
Tear your soul, break your heart.
Okay, so this has gone from a 2-chord repetition kind of thing to a much more intricate set of chords. Let's go through all of it.
Don't believe
So here's our F.
they say.
Here's our E flat 9.
They will take you.
There's our D minor. Okay, so that's an A on C sharp. C sharp, the lowest note in the chord. So we get that chromatic movement in the bass, which is nice.
Your soul, break your heart.
Down to a B flat chord, or B flat chord, and then back to that A on C sharp. With the added note from the melody, da 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 da. Is it that? Let me just check.
Tear your soul, break your heart.
Oh no, it's not. Silly me. So break your heart. So we still have the C sharp in the bass, but now it's a C sharp chord or a D flat chord. Really coming from the B flat chord, it feels more like a D flat chord. So that's interesting, isn't it? Yeah, what do we have? F, E flat 7 or 9, D minor, A major. That's a classic change, and then we can even go there and it still feels pretty classic D minor kind of territory, but then D flat. Oh, fun stuff. Yeah, complicated sequence with a lot of different pulls one way or another. and we have the same melody, da 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 da, but he slows it down a little bit in this next one. Da, 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 so that the notes fit the chords that they are over in a consonant way that's not too abrasive. You could have a really abrasive version of this, which is like da 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 da, da. But fortunately, that's not what happens here. It's very placid. The whole mood gone for here is really placid. The chords are the one thing that sort of disrupts that, but it doesn't feel like it's a full, departure. It feels like they are just sort of maybe like different visions in a mirror or a pensive or some kind of water that shows you the future, maybe a crystal ball. You're seeing these different things gliding in and out of a very relaxed setting.
Don't believe what they say.
And we're back to where we were with the F. Nice. Everything's slightly building up. We've got a lot of low kick drum coming through there. It's indistinct in comparison to a lot of the other instruments, but then the kick drum often is. We get that boomy kind of sound. We've not got any kind of click that really designates here is where it hits, and that's quite appropriate to the music. Okay, but now the orchestration is getting pretty extreme. Let's see the lead into that. Let's see.
What they say. Don't
Brass.
believe what they say.
Yeah, so there's some brass leading, sort of crescendoing, getting louder. I think. Yeah, and that's really nice. That's another colour. It's quite subtle. Brass can be very abrasive if it's very, very loud, but here it's just going from really quiet, muted kind of sound to a slightly more bright thing as we change chord. So those chord changes are really being made the central focus of the interest, really, here.
Unbearable life.
I didn't say actually this in the previous one. When we get to the D chord, na, 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 na. I didn't say something that I shouldn't have said because it was completely wrong. So let's leave that as it is. Yeah, still got the same melody over the top. I thought it changed, it didn't. But yeah, there we are. We're back at the D minor. So our whole sequence here seems to be 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, holding on that. Okay, 6 different chords, basically 8 bars / 9 with the hold. There's our A, there's our G minor on B flat, and there's our D flat. We hold.
Little things
Okay, a new section.
take their toll.
Okay, so this is keeping in the D minor kind of area. It's quite a fun shift from D flat to D minor. I do like that quite a lot. Yeah, and we've got this. Thank you, very nice. We've got this shift. Well, it's not really a shift. It's a semitone change. We get the chord, and then we get ba-da as a sort of small leitmotif, if you like, between those two chords. Pretty classic, and we're keeping that rhythm that we had at the beginning in the with the E flat chord. So 3 3 3 3 3 3 2 2. Okay, same thing here. 3 sorry, 2, 3, 3, 2. Okay, you can't hear all those beats because they're not being played, but we do have that constancy of rhythm going through.
weigh you down.
Still got those whooshes going on.
Little thing.
Yeah. We even keep that through that G minor chord. That is that G minor? Let's hear it again. No, that's very clearly actually a B flat major chord. Yeah, and that sort of ends on the major 7 of that chord, so we get a B flat major 7. Adding a, well, I think they're really lush major 7 chords. I think they're really, really emotive, soft, sweet, sensual chords. So even though we've started in quite a sad kind of area with this harmonic classical device, when we get here it's a little bit softer, and we hold there for longer as well.
Little things test us all, make you
The melody is
down.
different here. Little melodic fragments. Little things test us all, make you doubt. Not very complicated at all. There's sort of motivic connection there. Da 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 is like ba, but just going up and down. And then he reverses it, and then he moves it lower to fit with the other chord. Also, these chords are all from the previous section, so it feels like it's all pretty well interconnected here. Somewhat, if not minimalist in style, at least minimalist in thought process. Definitely some wanting to make the most out of the smallest amount of material. And we've got some more drum rolls that are coming in, but all of that stuff is very background, just adding to an evolving landscape going on in the background, not really structurally integral like these piano chords are and the rhythm is.
Everything that you say, it's a cold light of day.
Okay, new section again. What's that last chord?
Of day.
Yes, okay, there we go. Back to our E flat 9 chord. E flat 13. Lovely stuff. With that extra string note there. Yeah, strings coming through now. There might have been some hints of strings in the first section, but they were not very present, so I chose to ignore that. But now they're definitely coming through, so almost as a counter melody, because we get whatever the main melody is on the first chord, and then we move chord back to a B flat. We get that as the counter melody from the strings. And we get some similar kind of thing when we move to the fourth chord. So they're doing an interplay thing. Phil Selway sings, we get some strings. Phil Selway sings, we get some more strings. I like these things.
And you're lost.
Yeah, there's something else poking through that arrangement too.
And you're lost.
It's a guitar. Just up on this F. Have a listen to it, slowly poking through. It's there. Okay, we hold on that chord too, and then yeah, it really comes through.
In a world of your own.
In a world of your own. Interestingly, it's just a transition chord there, but that C in a world is actually a different world to the one we've been in. It could easily have been in a world of your own, but instead in a world of your own. It's a more simple harmonic movement. It keeps it in the D minor, D natural minor, much closer. But because we've never heard it before in this song, and we've always been using the C sharp / D flat in this song, to actually hear the C there is quite powerful. Just for a moment before we again pass on to another world. And yeah, those strings now filling, well, really there's just one strong string note on that D, isn't there? It's not like a full string arrangement, but we do have some more thick multi-instrument backing here as well. Lovely. I forgot to say that there was a hint of that synthesizer arpeggio kind of thing. Something like that. In the previous section there, just for a moment, and then it dissipated again. So we've had all these hints up to this moment, and we've just had a big old crash. The drums have come in, and we feel like we have a much thicker texture all of a sudden. We're back with the main bit of melody there. What else? Yeah, we had that D flat chord waiting down, and that beginning of the melody there, down on the sharp 4 of this chord. Don't believe what they say. Yeah, and when we move to that F, we suddenly feel 100 stories higher, because that's such a strong tertiary shift there between that D flat. It's basically, yeah, up those sort of powerful ending chords. Don't believe what they say, but we just miss out the middle one, so it feels like even bigger a shift. Lovely stuff. Yeah, so it's interesting, the balance here. The drums are much louder, but also a little bit sort of high frequency. Mostly the drums are operating in these kind of tinier brackets of sound, because we have this thick middle ground where we have lots of well, probably some brass and strings and just sort of boominess in that middle area. There's not too much other than Phil's voice as well in that area. There's not too much from the drums in that area at all. Even the snare sounds quite high pitched in comparison to normal. But the drums are totally different now, aren't they? We haven't got any of those rolls now, those low tom rolls. We're playing on the sort of the main kit, the cymbals, the snare. We've got some kick drum coming through as well. But yeah, it's more like a classic groove kind of playing of drums now, keeping the time for everybody, lovely, but also with a lot of character and a lot of variation going on. And yeah, almost everything else is pretty static. There's not very much movement at all from the accompanying instruments. So the drums and a little bit of the melody are really the focal points here. Yeah, it's nice. The bass is sort of coming through quite strongly now. Just again holding the notes, and those brass instruments are now bringing their larger amount of brightness and raz, not quite raz I would say, but to the notes. We're back in the original chord progression, which is nice. Yeah, and each change in this big reverb acoustic feels like quite a big shift. It takes quite a lot of time to clear. We don't just get like straight clear chords. We get some hangover, something like that, because they're swaying into each other in this massive reverb. Yeah, it's almost a bum bum da bum bum ba going on. Real classic feel to those drums, but they've again got this character and this variation. Now the instruments have really taken over. They've got some slow moving but impactful melodies. What is that? Doing something like that. And everything is shifting together. It's not aiming for flashiness, I would say, just really aiming for grandeur. That's what I get from this. Boom, boom, boom. I'd say this is like rock cliche chord progression number 3. I've used it. It's the one I always think of with it is from the Buffy musical episode, which goes and that is annoyingly what my song that uses it sounds like as well, which goes wow, it's my song. How does it go? In my mind. Deary me. Anyway, that's what's going on here. All of a sudden, a somewhat world shift again. We've not used this A flat chord at all. It's another tertiary shift away from the F. And then we go to that 4 chord. We've not used this B flat chord. Oh yeah, we have. But we haven't used it in this kind of context. We've always used it either going to the D flat or going back to the D minor. Okay, so here, kind of lovely plagal cadence feel, getting back to the F chord there. Very, very strong and sort of final in a restful way is how some people think about the plagal cadence. I think that's a little bit of hokum, but it sort of rings true here. It's very strong, and having that shift away from what's happened previously in the song really makes it feel like we're going somewhere new after the song is finished. Let's see if we do. Okay, so we've got some fifths in the strings, or fourths. Just hitting out each of those notes quite detached but not staccato. Jump, 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 and then in the arpeggiated synth in the background, just bubbling away underneath. But that's pretty much all that is carrying on here. Bass. Okay. Yeah. And there's okay. Yeah, and a few cymbal rattles. We can't hear the beginning of the cymbal there. I think we really just hear the result of the cymbal in the reverb. Well, okay, maybe it's more or less there, but yeah, the reverb is really king. Okay. Quite a different feel straight away. A minor to E minor, and we have sort of more of an electric piano sound now rather than a synthesizer kind of sound. Electric piano. Do we have anything else? Maybe 2 different electric pianos. Maybe 3. Okay, there's bass as well, and there's the drums that come in there. and strings. Yeah, really nice bit of string, and maybe a guitar as well. Bit of violin, I think. And then it lets out this really wicked harmonic going up there. Yeah, a real top E. Very nice stuff. So that's the most characterful thing I think that's happened here. But straight away we have more of a groove and more of a sort of moving forwards rhythmic feel to this one. The other one very much happy to sort of dwell in its wallowy ambient space. Even though we did still keep rhythmic features going all the way through. Very slow, but this one much faster. Still not a fast tempo, but much faster. So that's nice. Yeah, the drums again feel somewhat filtered, like not really filtered, but EQ'd in a way that keeps them relatively high in the mix. I'm not sure what that is, what purpose that's serving. It does get out of the way of, say, the bass and the lower instruments, but the electric piano is playing relatively high here, so I'm not sure that that's massively sensible in this one. It worked quite well in the previous one. Let's see how it goes.
Sounds. Strange sounds carry into the dark.
Okay. Again, a low melody. So it may well be to keep out of the way of the voice. The soft voice needs not too much craziness going on in its range, really. Strange sounds. That's quite a fun minor seventh interval to start with there, and then straightforward, two different A and B bits of melody. Strange sounds. It's quite fun as well because we've got such a long gap between the two different things. Sounds quite strange. And sort of has a hark of the melody from the previous one, which might have been using the same notes there, but we are doing something different here. I like the drum groove. Boom, ba da dum ba is basically the main thing. So we've got sort of emphasis on the second beat, ba, ba, and then the third off beat. There's no doubt a name for that particular groove, but I'm not so familiar with that kind of thing. Yeah, and the other thing is that, electric piano, but also maybe vibes, maybe vibraphone. These things are locking together in a sort of pentatonic mush. Actually, it might not be quite pentatonic, actually, but anyway, in an A minor mush, we're kind of getting these notes, but they're being played at different times, and it doesn't quite clear as a clear, obvious A minor chord, because we've got maybe the D in there, maybe the B in there, maybe a G even, or I don't think the F's in there, and they're sort of, occasionally they're locking together like this, and then they're locking together like this, and then they're like this, but they're always sort of shifting around each other, so you never get a full glimpse of A minor going, yes, clear, ready, can sit on this forever. It's constantly slightly shifting in relatively subtle and calm ways. It doesn't feel obtrusive, it doesn't feel very impactful, but it keeps this sort of mild motion going on in the background, which is quite effective, quite appropriate for keeping you awake at night, I guess. Yeah. You know what? I think that is just vibraphone. I'm gonna have a listen to the beginning again. Let's see. Okay, we do have vibraphone doing the those two notes at the top, but it is electric piano playing the chord. Yeah, it's an interesting texture, quite unusual, really. Moving on. There's definitely two different vibes things though. So the chords are actually getting a little bit lost behind the constant movement. We have violins in the left, there's a guitar in the right which just occasionally comes in. Okay. So this is our second section here. That's where we come in with the F chord. As you're lying there, restless in the dark. Can't be that. Let's hear it again.
Confused as you're lying
C.
there, restless in the dark.
G. And things are moving a little bit more now. The guitar has sort of woken up from a bit of a slumber. So yeah, we're C there, going to G. Really straightforward change from these two. Similar motion, really. A lot of the same notes between those two chords and those two chord changes. We're in the relative major. And the melody has got a little bit higher as well. So we're going for a slightly more positive mood here, maybe.
All these troubles weigh on you.
It's quite a lyrical, moving melody. We very rarely say lots of notes on the same pitch, lots of words on the same pitch. Da 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 da. Always moving, which I find is common with people who don't really write melodies very often, I think, but it's not so popular these days with melody writers who often keep on the same one. I find it a little bit overstimulating for melody writing when it is constantly moving and everything has a different note. Even I couldn't do it there. I had some of them using the same one. I don't really think it's a natural way of writing melodies. I think melodies often need to sit on the same note for different words. But there we go. Oh, was that just my audio or was that this?
These troubles weigh on you.
Okay, it was just my audio. We do have some really fun things going on with that violin. It's probably improvised and it's just adding in occasional screeches in the high frequency range. Well, and not super high frequencies, but the highest kind of, let's say the highest sung frequency range, which is just beautiful cries, far away from everything else that's playing, so it adds a real difference of texture when they come in.
Sleep, tense, falling fast.
Okay,
And all
so now the vibes have sort of upped their game. They're playing twice as fast all of a sudden. So it's like that kind of thing. So that really is propulsive now, in a way that the other stuff hadn't been. The other stuff had been moving us forward at a steady pace, and now suddenly we're double that. Just in those though, the drums have kept pretty stable.
these troubles weigh on you.
That said, a few more rolls, a few more fills. Okay, so we're oscillating between this A minor, E minor vamp and this C major, G major vamp. Really straightforward harmonic places, but it's unusual just to have, you know, one section one place, one section another place, and go between those. Fun extra noises coming in here. I don't even know what they are. Vaguely percussive, potentially field sound. Maybe like a milk bottle or something being hit there on the left side. Also, we're back down. Well, okay, we were back down to a relatively straightforward vibe bit there. Let's see what happens as we carry on. Yeah, maybe I should highlight that we have had that vibe melody a few times. What's it going? It's something like... Yeah, I can't get up there, so let's play it down. One, da, 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 da. That kind of thing happening quite a lot. Which is nice. It's a more complicated melody. Sorry? Yeah, just give me a minute. What do? We go to the pause screen and we mute the microphone. Oh, no, pause screen. Hi there, sorry about that. I will just get back to where I was. So, yeah, we're having a strange dance, aren't we? Okay. Yes, and we'd gone back to that small melody, and now, where are we going to?
Back to the ones that you love.
Okay, relatively fast movement of those vibes again. Actually, are they vibes now? We've definitely had a change of texture. The drums have gone to more clappy kind of sounds, and we've got more guitar in the middle of the pan. Yeah, clappy sounds.
To the ones that you love.
But pit strings as well.
Watch.
It sounds almost like gamelan, but I don't think it is. But it's definitely not just vibes. The more tinkly kind of bell sounds in the left ear here. We're kind of heavily left dominated at this point.
Over you.
We've still got the same change in chords, and they're sort of led by the bass, which is static, just giving us the low notes. But yeah, our texture has shifted from relatively wide frequency range to now quite a small frequency range, upper in the upper kind of range, with only the bass giving us some low stuff. And yeah, all these different parts interlocking. It's hard to really explain, but they have. It's hard to explain exactly how they interlock, but we have sort of different rhythmic features. Maybe they're even different lengths of loop, and they're just locking together in slightly unexpected ways, constantly shifting. That's the guitar, the tinkly bell stuff, the strings, the pit strings. Maybe there's something else as well, and even the clap kind of sounds. Sticking together in unexpected ways. Okay, so now we've got the drum beat back in. It does feel a little bit softer than it was before as well. Just adding to the rhythmic complexity. The melody is still relatively high in comparison to where it began. Yeah, we're up to B, and it's really softly sung.
As you're lying there, restless in the dark.
There's a kind of sound that is coming in the right ear sometimes. Another guitar. Oh, a thicker. Okay. So from our pit strings now we're back to more of the texture that we had at the beginning, and that's interesting that we've shifted there slowly. It's not been a sudden shift, even though we had a sudden shift earlier. I wonder what the thinking behind that is.
His troubles weigh on you.
So until I spoke there, we had the fast vibes bit, dum digga dum kind of thing, sticking around, but I think that's just left.
Tense and falling fast.
So we've softened again, the speed and the complexity have dissipated into
What keeps you awake at night?
okay.
And goes on there in your mind.
Okay, so a different set of two chords, and we're going between them faster. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. F and A. Those are. I imagine we'll get something slightly more interesting in a moment. But that is interesting because this F chord has not come before. And we're going between major and minor, whereas before we've been minor and minor and major and major. So we'd have these very clear different feelings between those two. Now it's a little bit more to and fro. The melody is really low. You awake at night, something like that. Down on that low F. You wouldn't get this of a pop singer ever, really.
Awake at night.
Awake at night, awake at night. Spelling out that arpeggio there. Yeah, really low, really soft and breathy singing. Very different to what you might expect from Tom York's not singing that, is he? The texture is more complicated here. Everything seems to have gone with that change, but that's kind of easy to do when you're playing mostly pentatonic, plinky plonky things. Just to change one note, that's fine. The violin is really my favourite thing in this by far. I feel the guitar, on the other hand, on the other side, is a little bit more oppressive. It's doing something like that, and it's a little too loud for my liking in the mix. So there we go. There's the unexpected harmonic thing that we were getting. We've got a few of these. These go very nicely together in just A minor. Then we got the D major. Okay, with instead of an F, an F sharp. Changing that mode. shifting the tonality somewhat brighter. Nice. Even though it's what keeps you awake at night, which, for some people is the darkest stuff. So I'm not entirely sure that we've captured the essence of the words in this one.
As the world around you falls apart, even brighter in the dark.
Wow. And now we've got more of a melody from that violin part doing something. Yeah. Something like that. Something like that. That's happened twice, and yeah, it's adding more of a specific identity onto this section in that melody there, as not a perfect counterpoint to the other melody, just an extra melody that is going on at the same time, which also, because of its sort of da 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 da, feels more like a rhythmic figure, maybe. I don't know. These things have soft boundaries, but yeah, we've built to this section. It's now full polyphony, really. We've got different melodies going on at the same time, and everything just fits together in a really complicated melange. Drums, we've got more cymbals going on as well. We've still got the dum ba da go da basic thing though, I think. Okay, and as we get away from that, the drums are the main thing that changes. A little bit of thickness comes out of the texture. I couldn't tell you exactly what leaves, but it's not the violin or the guitar. Those two things are still giving it beans, not giving the straightforward melody like that bit of violin was before, but again, feeling a little more improvised. The guitar is in the highest range here. There, the violin is a little below it, but they're still keeping up that wilder side of this thing. Maybe they're like the sort of rancid dreams that you're trying to avoid by staying up at night, or maybe they are the thoughts that are constantly whirling around. You're like, oh, I forgot to take out the bins. Oh, what did I think of when I said that in that conversation? These kinds of things that plague people at night. Maybe that's what the violin and the guitar are. And even though we've come to some sort of level of re-calm here in the song after this chorus, these things are still whirring away. That's a much thicker string line in the middle there, much less improvised, da, 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 da. And much more, I guess, deliberately evocative, romantic kind of melody writing. Yeah, and so over that A minor, we get the B, and we get the A over the E. The B is the added ninth in this A minor chord, and the A is the added 11th in this E minor chord. So this melody is not built to fit with these chords, unlike a lot of the melodies that have happened in this album so far. It's built to be a little more evocative and romantic, fit less well, still not really chaotically unpleasant, just more pushing on your emotional center than just a bit of A minor would be. So even though that is clearly recorded and multi-tracked with several different instruments, maybe it's actually not real instruments, it could be a sample set, I suppose, But even though that is the case, and it clearly isn't improvised, it has this lack of repetition, which is so at odds with the rest of the song. It's really crazy and powerful because of this. As a bit of melody by itself, it's a little all over the place, but because we've been surrounding it with such repetition from every other instrument, really, even the guitar is doing something like that, really repeating very constantly these simple rhythms. It goes so against that and feels really powerful, sitting in the center, taking up this space where it can just say what it wants to, which evolves over time in a unpredictable and exciting way. Good bit of stuff there. Worth waiting 4 minutes for. And it carries on. So we've got some crazy stuff going on in the background here. Sounds a bit like a football game, but maybe just of children. Maybe it's the seaside, actually. It's some extra noise going in the background anyway. Let me just check we haven't heard this bit of melody before. We have. It's actually a repetition. So we have an 8-bar melody that then repeats pretty much the same the second 8 bars. It's different enough that I didn't notice that until I heard something that I thought maybe we had before. It's interesting, yeah. You'd have to be paying some attention to get that repetition there, because it's a long repetition. If we're thinking 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 4 bars each set of those chords, and we repeat them 4 times, so 16 bars before we actually get a repetition of the melody. So every 16 bars, it's repeated after 16 bars the same. That's a long bit of melody to retain. So so really it's as if that's not happening, but it is. What's the difference though? That background stuff, is there any other difference? There seems to be an extra guitar in the left now. Or maybe it's just shifting between left and right. No, I think there are 2. The bass seems more present in this section, maybe because there's no voice, and the bass is going bum, ba-dum, dum, da-dum. Not very complicated stuff, but a little bit of a alternative rhythm to the bum, tap, dum, pat, bum, tap, dum, pat. So that bum, ba-dum, bum, ba-dum. They're both fitting together in another rhythmically complex way. I guess that one is less so. That one's more of a classic rhythmic duo, but nonetheless, it just adds to the crazy rhythms going through this whole thing. Okay. Things are going a bit more ambient now, aren't they? We've still got the drums pushing away with some fills, which are nice. But everything's coming a little bit further away from the spotlight. Fading in and out. Okay. some whirring distortion coming in there. The vibes are still going strong. The drums have softened. So yeah, the drums have gone from being like a full hit to maybe a side stick going on here on the snare. With some nice echo as well. Even the kick drum has an echo on it. Yeah, this is more of a soundscape now, isn't it? We've got the single violin back over here. That echo on the drums is getting later and later, which is a really odd feeling. It makes you feel a little bit sick. But it's gone from ticket, so a real sort of semi-quaver one to more of a down late semi-quaver or a triplet semi-quaver kind of thing. Okay, and we got some pit strings which have occurred out of nowhere, just whoa, going all over. Okay, some odd chords we weren't expecting from that electric piano, which is suddenly very visible. The drums are absolutely crazy now. Okay. So, yeah. A sudden departure into insanity in this night, it seems. Yeah, real creepy strings now. And just echoing in the space. Yeah, and the guitar seems to be playing behind the nut. Really weird noises coming from the guitar. Tremolo string there. Yeah. Wow, well that devolved. Yeah, interesting as well, because we only got the chorus once in that song. So that F and that D major chord really only happened for a couple of bars in the whole song. And then we were based around this one particular chord progression for the whole of that end 3 minutes. Well, 2 minutes, and then the last minute really just devolved into crazy noises. Yeah. Like maybe that's a descent into an uneasy sleep or something like that. Interesting. Let's keep going. Nice drums and piano. We're in E minor. Something like that. So that's an E minor for 3 beats, and then going to an F. No, sorry, what's that? A C in the bass. And walking that down. A, G, F sharp, E. So it's interesting, yeah, that we've got these 3 static chords, then suddenly quite a lot of movement, back to nothing. And this happens all times. I did also like the drum groove there, but I've forgotten how it goes. I'm just going to keep going on.
Coming back again to what I know is not the same.
The soundscape with the drums is really crazy, and annoyingly I am going to have to go back because it doesn't keep to the same thing in that next bit. But yeah, the drums are occurring in all different places. It feels like it is just a kit, or at least the sounds you hear are just of a normal kit, but then they are scattered all over this big environment. Not to begin with, though. Yeah, that feels pretty straightforward. Bum, ba-ka, da-dum, bum, bum, ba-ka, da-dum. It's quite a nice. It doesn't quite feel as classic as the last two have felt. Something slightly more esoteric about this one.
Back again to what I know.
We've again got more echoes going on, very wet echoes, so you can hear the hit again of each of these things. And as soon as this new section is starting, the drums are getting wider. They're occupying much more of the right speaker, a little more of the left.
To what I know, it's not the same.
And that sounds like it's on a different snare, a much more sort of tinny, metallic kind of snare. Maybe it's not, but it sounds like that, and it's coming from a different place in the center.
It feels all out of place.
Okay. Yeah, really, just changing. Not much rhythm to hold on to there, apart from these chords in the piano, which are pretty reliable. To the extent that we are upset, because it's a 4-chord song. 6 minor, 4 major, 1 major, 5 major. To apologize. It's too late. Hate. Never mind. He's done some good stuff already, so we'll forgive him for this one, maybe. Okay, and we're back to that first thing, but with much more movement in the drums, and the strings have come back in again.
Lies between the lines. In the cracks we wait.
Yeah, melody's not very interesting either, really. Here, da 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 da. It's a little bit higher than normal. Well, okay, we're going up to the A, and yeah, it's like A B is sort of what the melody is doing here. Okay, unexpected, but there. So we were in E minor, that D coming back to the E, but it doesn't do that. It goes to the A, and then we go to the B. Now this technically could still exist in E minor. This would be the 5 chord and the 4 chord, and we get both of those sharpened notes like in a melodic scale, but they are happening in the harmony here, so that's quite an unusual thing to happen. Anyway, we're going to a new section here, clearly. So we get that. Let some daylight get in. It's a really effective change to have that dominant 5 chord, and then instead of resolving to kind of dull, expected. Have that interrupted cadence instead. Yeah, we like that.
Check the signs of life. There's dust on everything. I say your name.
Very warm feeling from the strings here. Giving another melody again, one that goes against Phil's. Now Phil is, to his credit, not as over the top with movement of his melody here. Na 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 na. We're pretty much keeping on that note, which is nice.
Sounds different now you're gone.
Not the most crazy melody, but it's fine. The drums are crazy. The drums are absolutely doing more than anything else here. Everything else is pretty slow to move, and the drums are all over the place, which is great.
Well, this life has changed and shaped us all.
Well, this life has changed and shaped us all. Interesting. that A major again, the Dorian kind of feeling with that A major, immediately shafted by going to the C, which then takes us back to the E. So yeah, we have that C sharp in that one. So we have that chromatic movement downwards through those three chords, which is nice.
And this life has changed forevermore.
Same kind of thing, but this time we finish on the G. This life has changed forevermore. And the G is, you know, it's the relative major of the E minor. We did have it in the previous na, 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 na. There as well, a different resolution. Okay, but now we're straight back to the E minor. Let's see if we follow the pattern from the beginning. We do. Yeah, and it's echoed not just in the strings, but also there sounds like something else, maybe like a bassoon, doing it lower as well. It could just be a string, but it feels a little more kind of sounding than the strings. Okay, it starts off another verse. Yeah. It's not for me, this one. Even though, nice little detail there. Instead of holding on the D, we did go back to the A for a couple of beats. It's nice, it's nice. It's just the DNA of this is yeah, like, you know, it's like I'm a Neanderthal and this is Homo sapiens DNA, and I'm like, no thank you, we're doing fine. Sounds like just racism, doesn't it? Never mind.
Memories of a life has been traces all around.
That was an interesting A there. Did the same thing. Traces all around. Da, 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 da. And we got the G in there for that A. So it's not just a cheeky A with a C sharp in it, but it's got a da to make it the 7th chord as well. So that's a little bit of extra spice. Yeah, and the string melodies here are going crazy. Feel very yeah, romantically engaged again, a little bit musy maybe. And back to our B section, which I guess is our chorus. Similar but just thicker texture. The drums are actually getting a little bit lost, or at least their lower frequencies are getting lost behind the walls of warm string here. So again, we feel them in the higher frequencies mainly.
It sounds different now you're gone. Well, this life has changed and shaped us all.
Yeah, same thing we got there, the A, the C, the E minor, A, C, G. Yeah. And then we had just one bar where everything dropped out except the reverb and the piano. So the piano is giving us some E minor, and then we come straight back in with an, well, let's see.
I'm calling, dear God, it hurts to be alone.
Okay, well, faster chord changes. Going between E and minor C, and we go somewhere else for that last bit. Probably that what I just played, but we'll hear it again. The drums are keeping semiquavers going with their echoes, and it feels like, yeah, much more of a forward push kind of feel here, racing, rushing air past our windshield or something. Yeah, the dropout is a classic technique. It feels always just a little cliche, but then yeah, it did yield. It always yields quite a nice thing when it comes back in and everything's thick and full.
But it hurts to be alone.
We're getting the same thing here. E minor to C,
God, it's a curse to be
G,
alone.
and D. Whoa! A sudden F out of nowhere, yeah. So that section is E to C, E minor to C, then to G for a bit longer, 3, 4, and D. First time I think you just hold on D, but then the second time D, and sudden F. The flat 2 of the key, not an expected chord at all, and so it feels like a real shift, and everything is sort of pushing through the reverb to catch up. Yeah, nice stuff, and the strings, yeah, offering their stuff again. The most emotive melody. You know, it works for him. It's quite nice. We're building here on a D major chord. The texture is kind of changing. Yeah, I can't actually tell if it's brass or if it's just a really strident string sound, but going da 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 through the texture there. Da da da. Sorry, which is interesting because we're over a D chord. Da da. We add in that E, which is nice.
Let it show.
Okay, and we're back to the verse.
I'll wait for you here.
Oh, not quite though. I'll wait for you here. We use that F. That's interesting. So we were all expecting to go back to the D, but this time we go 3 chords through one magic chord sequence. I'll wait for you here, and then we go to that F major again. So the flat 2 chord being used again, not just for a shock tactic in the previous section, but we're committing to that change. That's an interesting thing. I don't think it quite redeems the previous sections for me, but there we are.
And find a place to dream.
Okay, and this is a kind of outro section, which feels at the moment like it's a 6-bar loop, well, 3-bar loop because we're quite slow. Go to C, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Oh, but it's not. It's just three bars. Just 3 bars there to do something slightly different. That's cool. We've got this ostinato going on, an octave higher than that, in the strings. Which is nice. It's a bit straightforward, but it's nice. And again, because we keep changing chord, it has a different feel over each of those chords. So it feels different even though it's the same. And here we've ended with what we had at the beginning. I think that's probably a guitar. Ba 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 ba. Which is doing an octave lower than we had at the beginning. Ba 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 ba. With a very muted tone. Again, still the drums are going pretty hectic, constant movement. Oh, now we've sort of held on this. What is it? It's like a yeah, C major 7 or something. We've just held on this chord. It feels like an E minor chord where the bass didn't get the memo. And that ba 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 da is getting a little bit slower while the drums still propel on in their incessant movement until this moment. And then we get woo, woo. Jeez, what's wrong with me? Almost. Up an octave. Somewhere around there. What is that, a B? Yeah, really high B, just soaring out across the open landscape. Okay, picking up the pieces. Well, what have we got so far? We've got 3 quite different pieces. They've all been relatively slow, and they've all had interesting textural elements. They've all had strings. They've all had some fun drums. But yeah, as far as structure, they've been quite different. This last one felt more in the normal form of things. So with verses and choruses, but that wasn't quite what the one before was. Really, we only got one chorus there, and we, I guess, had 2 different verse sections that went in and out, and then we had this big multifaceted outro, which we've not had here. We've gone back to the beginning feeling in this last one, and then the first one really was a thing of 2 halves, where the drums come in really fully halfway through, and while there are connections across the 2 halves, that's the big emotive change that happens there. Okay, so really, I mean, what to expect from this one? We'll probably have strings, we'll have interesting, maybe echoey drums. Structurally, who knows? Harmonically, who knows? Melodically, probably we're going to be still relatively low. Let's see if we get surprised. This is a bit of a surprise. Okay. Much more driving already than any of these previous ones. Drums, we've got a little bit of a occasional semiquavers keeping us going. We've got a faster tempo. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. What is that? I don't know, and I don't have the facilities to look it up right now. I guess I do. All right. I'm sorry if you can't see the screen right now. You seem to be able to. That's fine. Let's look it up. Tap tempo. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hey, we're about 124, 125 maybe. Yeah, that's fast. That's way faster than these previous tracks have been. Nice. Okay. And yeah, we've just got guitars and drums really. We're sort of holding on an F major chord. There's a little bit of maybe from the bass mainly, actually, overall. But yeah, a little bit of E in there as well as the F.
Picking up pieces, picking up pieces.
Little squeal from the sorry, I didn't mean to stop there, but a little squeal from the left ear there. Normally keeping things normal, and then just like a harmonic or something sticking out. Picking the pieces, 1, 2, 3, and then we build slightly on that the second time. So evolving melody.
Lost in a moment, you're lost in your own world most of the time. I can't imagine.
Okay.
I can't imagine how it felt to be on your own here.
So we had D minor. minor there, doing very much the similar kind of melody. I can't imagine how it felt to be on your own. Okay, so D minor to C. These are classic chords in an F major, but we're giving quite a lot of time to each of them. I can't imagine. Yeah, so we're on that D minor for 4 bars, and then presumably we're going to be on that C for that long as well, which is nice. Very different to the previous one, where each bar we were changing chord quite a lot. We didn't stay on many chords at all. But then that was a slower song as well.
With all of his problems and nobody else.
Okay. Yeah, so na 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 does nothing to you, or whatever it is from that Little Things. Little repetition there of melody. You could see it as thematically connected. I imagine it's not. I imagine it's just that fit both the songs, so he used it in both the songs. Da, 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 da. Anyway, yeah, straightforward chord sequence, but because of that weighting, because we're so long on each chord, it doesn't feel as as pushy or as annoying as the actually more harmonically interesting 4-chord song that we had previously. There's only 3 in this one, and 2 of them, in fact all 3 of them, are used in the previous thing. But like, imagine if this song was going something like have less staying power, it would have less calm about it, it would feel a little more, what's the word? A little more airy-fairy, a little less meaningful. And because we're taking a little bit more time over each of those changes, it means that they have more impact. It's really nice. Simple and nice. Another squeal of guitar. Okay, and the strings have come in.
I'm on the outside looking in, watching you falter.
So the strings are being a bit coy here, aren't they? Fading in.
This conversation.
Yeah, they're really interesting actually, but it's because it's just and then just disappearing for a bit. And they're doing sort of clustery things like that kind of thing, and then they're just disappearing, just coming in and out. The clusters aren't very violently aggressing against the chords, but they do add notes that aren't in the chords, so that's fun.
This conversation just can't wait. Moving in circles.
A little bit of vocal harmony.
Moving in circles and drifting away.
That's nice. You can barely hear it, but moving in circles. Oh, moving in circles. Moving in circles and drifting away. Thirds are classic, but it's just new. It's not happened on this album so far. Yeah, there's that was a good change, wasn't it? I think that's our highest note as well, C sharp or D flat. Lovely. Not to get distracted though, Seb. Carry on talking about what you were meant to talk about. That the guitars feel very free here, as do the drums. Nothing in this feels really, really well planned. I'm sure that the string things are deliberate. Everything feels just a little bit on the free side, and this gives it this brightness, this lightness of touch, which is lovely. Arguably the melody is something that feels a little too pat and a little too deliberate, but then that contrasts with the other things, so maybe that's a deliberate deliberate thing. You could see some worth in that. Anyway, we've just suddenly changed harmony. F. We're an F.
What you
Oh.
taught me.
Okay. What you tell me. It's fun. It's not too big, but we get that D flat chord again. Oh yeah, we were an F in the other song. You tell. And then, you know, in another world that would be a C7 or a C, but it's not. It's just C and F. You tell. So semitone difference there, and then me. He lands on the major third, which is a nice melody thing there. Da, da, da. As the chord goes back to F. I really quite like that.
It's not what it seems.
It sounds like there's a little bit of G getting through there as well. Not what you think. Yeah. And the strings are more full now, aren't they, as well? And the drums are playing harder. There are also just occasional other extra things in the environment here. There have been those through the album, just extra noises to fill out the environment a bit more, but it's not worth talking about those, but it's definitely worth saying that they're there. That they're there. that they're there. That they are there.
In the sun. I never believed it. Never believed you at all.
That's interesting, because that sort of has been used. This new section has been used as the first section of a verse. So then, instead of going to the first section of a verse, we actually go to the second part of the verse on the D minor and C. Technically what we do, I think it might count as its own section, because we don't hold those D's and C's as long as we do in the previous section.
I never believed it. I never believed you at all.
Yeah, no, it's just for a little bit. Yeah, and I'm being a little too overly prescriptive with what those chords are as well, because I don't feel like we have a full triad in these chords, and so that C chord doesn't necessarily have that that E in, and in fact I think is something that the strings are doing over the top, so it doesn't really feel like a C chord. Maybe a C sus4 chord.
I never believed you at all.
Yeah, so those strings there. Doing that over both chords, which is fun. Again, the swap. Okay, so those strings are doing similar things now, but the onset of them is audible. They don't feel like real strings now to me, but they are going. Bah. And so each note coming in, you can hear when it comes in and when it crescendos from.
Picking up pieces. Picking up pieces of your life.
Again, we've got some vocal harmonies here. Maybe even a D there.
Lost in a moment. Lost
A real squeal of noise from the guitars in the left again.
in your own world most of the time. This conversation.
So this is our main thing, isn't it?
This conversation
There's our D
just
going
can't
to
wait.
C.
Moving in circles.
We could call it the chorus. No, we could call it the verse, I suppose. It's the main part of the song. Okay, yeah, we've got some really high strings. Doing that while one comes down. Da, da, da. So pretty, I don't know, these things are not crazily inventive, but they are working quite nicely together. That da 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 has a ring of common people, doesn't it, in the instrumental there? Yeah. And then the sudden change, those strings, bah, out of there, straight on that change. And then they come back again. So they're being used, properly again as a counter melody. So we get "You told me," and then comes in to fill in that space in between the melody sections. Same thing again there. There's some fun "How Soon Is Now" style guitar going on in the atmosphere in the left side as well. There's our D, our C. Oh, there was the E there, just so you know, in that C chord. Never believed it. It's in the melody.
I never believed it. I never believed it at all.
But it's only there, never, and then it's gone. We have a double take there. We go from never believed it, never believed it, never believed it. So just it's not a delaying tactic, but it's something that is really another sort of classic trope of pop excitementism, where you try and make the song as exciting as it can be, and that means, breaking expectations as much as you can while still keeping it nice and comfortable. And so that's what happens here. We never believed it at all. We've gone back to that interrupted cadence again. Slightly different one this time. It's effective. It works here. Okay, so here things are again getting a little more ambient, a little more full of reverb. We had that melody and but the guitars are not quite so clear anymore. It sounds like they have gone into just a wall of reverb noise. Again, we're getting those clusters of strings. Very dry in comparison to the rest of the stuff, I think. This is a more dry song in comparison to the other three as well, but it feels, really, really dry in those strings. So they're not affecting this reverb wall that the guitars have gone into. And the drums are now really the main thing to listen to here. And they're going a bit more interesting than they've been the rest of the song. The rest of the song they've been mainly taking the back seat, while still an interesting back seat. Now there's a bit more going on. Yeah, some fun stick noise. Oh, a D minor. Holding on the D minor. Ooh. Okay, well, we weren't expecting that. We were holding on the F for the longest time, and then we held on the D minor, so we'd expect really 4 bars maximum on the D minor, but it holds again for another, I think, 4 bars, and then to an F, but with an A in the bass. This is, again, a new section to finish out on. We've got those low strings. That's the first time they've been really noticeable. Giving us a B flat there, the 4 chord of the key. Not happened before in this song, so that's a fun one. Again, the sort of majorness of it is implied. There's not necessarily that note in the chord, but it's implied by the chords that have come before it and after it and everything else. Okay, and the C. So are we going to get a nice big perfect cadence? Yeah, there we go, back to the F. And that's an interesting F chord because we've definitely got some B flat holding on. So it'll probably in a cluster chord up here, something like that. So it feels like there's a real plurality to the chord there. It's not just sitting on a normal F. Simplicity as well, and maybe some other notes going on. Definitely that one too. And then yeah, we just leave that reverb to tail. Nice. All right. Well, that's 4 tracks. I don't feel like doing any more of this album right now, but do let me know if you want me to. I will be happy to kowtow to any interest. I'm just doing this for fun, and if it's fun and if people are engaged, I think let's let them have some fun. I'm really happy to do that for you. Okay. All right, that's enough for now. See ya. We'll be back on Sunday night for me at least, with with another album that's new. This one pretty new, but it was like so 2 years ago. So we're going to do something that's so this year. See you soon.